Okay, we're going to get started. My name is Curt Pringle, and it's so good that you're able to join us on this webinar today, kind of talking about city government and city operations. That's the fundamental government that affects our lives more than anything else. And oftentimes we don't hear the news talk about it, cover it, emphasize it, show the importance of it, and also point in this crazy time of COVID and civic unrest, really some of the challenges local leaders have. And I have great respect for city council members and mayors. And today we have 3 mayors. My goal was to be a little diverse in our mayor collection in terms of where folks come from and maybe some of their philosophies in governing. I might not have succeeded in that, so that's all my fault. But with us is Jennifer Fitzgerald from the city of Fullerton. She's completing her 8th year on the Fullerton City Council and doing a great job in this year because she's serving as mayor in that capacity. Katrina Foley from the city of Costa Mesa is mayor, the very first directly elected mayor in the city of Costa Mesa. They changed the way their government structure was operating, and last election cycle in 2018, Katrina was elected as their first mayor in a direct election, which is really interesting. And prior to that, she served for 10 years on the Costa Mesa City Council. And then from LA County, to get that perspective, mayor of the city of Glendora, Michael Allawos. He was elected to the council in 2017, and he serves now as mayor. And with that, I mean, we really should start up by letting people know who you are, and you guys need to share your perspective a little bit on where you come from, what brought you to the city councils that you serve on. But what a lot of people miss, at least during my time as mayor of Anaheim, a lot of people think those are full-time jobs. A lot of people think that that is what your profession is, but in fact, it's people who are giving so much of their time for community service, and in this regard, community service in elective office, and getting beat up every step of the way. And so that is a tribute to all of you for being willing to do that. There's very few full-time mayors or city councilmen in Southern California. And in all of these cities, these are part-time jobs, as it is in the city of Anaheim, the 10th largest city in California. Those are all part-time positions. But I think mayors probably work twice as hard or have twice as much responsibility as city council people do. And this area, at this time of COVID and other challenges, that work is probably doubled as well. So it was a great tribute to all of you for serving this capacity and having a sense of humor, being able to serve your community without crumbling. So I salute to all of you, and everybody on the call here does too, I'm certain. So with that, why don't you briefly introduce yourself by introducing your city so that people understand what's behind the city that you represent. So Katrina, why don't you start?
Great. Well, thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure. I've been working with our Orange County mayors over the last 16 weeks, and we're all working very hard. I would say that prior to COVID, I worked about 30 hours a week as a mayor. I'm an employment law attorney. I have my own law firm, and that's what I do for my professional job. But now I would say it's 40 to 60 hours a week as mayor, and it's just an all-consuming task. And yes, you know, we don't get really paid for that either. So, but you don't do it for the pay, you do it for the service. Costa Mesa is population about 115,000. We're out counting now, so maybe that number has grown. We have a median age of 36.5 years old. We actually have a very young community, growing young community. Average household size is 2.74. Average family size, 3.3. Our major industries in the city of Costa Mesa, as many of you know, South Coast Plaza, it's a third of our budget. You can only imagine what that means right now. We also have the action sports capital of the world. We have the Orange County Fair. We have Vanguard University, Orange Coast College. We also have just an amazing number of restaurants that are the top restaurants in Orange County and LA. We're a hospitality community, lots of restaurants, hotels. We don't have we don't have a amusement park, but we do have the Orange County Fair. So a lot of that stuff is shut down right now. I've been practicing law for almost 24 years now. I'm married to a teacher. Thank goodness he's still working. And we've got 2 college-age sons, and we've lived in Costa Mesa. You know, my husband's lived here most of his life, and we've lived here with our boys for 23, 24 years. So I really care about the community and hope to stabilize us over the next 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Katrina. Michael.
Thank you, Curt. No, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate this. And you know, it's really nice to be able to get out there, share information, take questions. I'm a real big believer in best practices, and hopefully this webinar will do just that. I'm sure we'll have different opinions, but at the end of the day, you know, we all want the best for our collective cities. My past is that, and current is I'm a bid management consultant, where it's a global company that I founded in 2011. We go around the world. We do business plans, strategic planning, and a lot of business development because we are a global community. And I love that so much because you get to deal with all the different cultures around the world. And we have our own cultures here as well. And you need to be able to understand them. It's based on that communication problem. You know, you need to how to communicate and then understand, as we had spoken before with Jennifer and I offline. And that's the challenge. And I really, truly enjoy that challenge of how do you break through barriers, being able to communicate with people. I think that's the challenge we currently have now as a society is how do we communicate, how do we break down the barriers? And that I think is the key to all of our mayorships of what we're trying to do. And we take different roads and ways of getting there. The city of Glendora is basically, it's a bedroom community, 53,000 people. We have a AAA bond rating, which is almost unheard of for a city of our size. We have a small auto mall. We don't really have major commercial, but we have some shopping centers. We're basically at the crossroads of the 210, 57 freeway. It's not uncommon to have, you know, 3rd and 4th and 5th generation families living here. A lot of families, young folks, they leave Glendora because they call it Glen boring because it's so boring. There's not much to do here. But they always find their way back, you know, fancy that. You know, they like their upbringing, they like the hometown values that we have. And, you know, everyone goes down the street, they wave hello to everybody. It's a family-oriented community, and it's lovely. It's just a wonderful thing. I had lunch this afternoon with our chief of police downtown because we went out and we did these parklets out in the center of the street for our restaurants early on. We took the risk, and everyone's loving it. They want it permanent. And you're sitting there, you're having lunch, people come up, either introduce themselves or they have an issue that they want you to deal with. I'm not telling you anything you haven't experienced yourselves, but it's a nice feeling to actually, we're in this business not for the prestige, we're in this business to help people. And so when you're out there and you're able to help people, it's just a wonderful euphoric feeling to be able to go out there and actually help folks. You know, we're really blessed with
a bit more in a minute, Michael.
I'm sorry.
So
I'll wrap it up with, we have a lot of service clubs here in town that actually contribute as well. We have a Glendora Welfare, it's been around since 1956 that helped the community as well. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Curt.
I'll get right back to you. City of Fullerton, Jennifer, share with everybody. I don't think you're Fuller boring or whatever, Glendora.
We definitely are not.
All right. So give us a quick overview. Thanks for participating.
Yeah, Curt, thanks for having me on today. And I have been on the Fullerton City Council for the last 8 years. You asked, you know, why we do this, and I do this because I love my community. And in 2012, our community was going through a crisis. I felt like we really needed people who cared about the future of our city to step up and to step into the gap and try to move our city forward. And that's why I ran, and that's what I've been trying to do for the last 8 years. And it's interesting to me now as I'm coming to the end of my second term, you know, that we're in another crisis with the pandemic and with all the other gifts of this year. It is very reminiscent to me of the first year that I spent in office. So I'm kind of, as I'm not running for re-election this November, I'm kind of coming full circle in my volunteer service in this capacity. And professionally, probably many people who are with us today know that I also work at Curt, Pringle and Associates and have for the past 6.5 years, as I have my entire career working in government affairs and public relations and public outreach for public agencies. So Fullerton is not boring. There's no dull moment. We are known as the education community, home to the largest Cal State University, Cal State Fullerton. Titans reach higher. Here's my mask, my CS mask. And we were born as a railroad town. We're one of the oldest communities in Orange County. We are still a railroad town. We're a transportation hub. We have the busiest Metrolink station in the county. And we are full of businesses. We're, like I said, 140,000 people, about 6,000 businesses. Those businesses are split really 60% industrial, 40% manufacturing. Our biggest growth as a city was in the 1950s surrounding the large aerospace companies in Fullerton. So we don't have big auto malls, big shopping malls. We had big aerospace. And so we've really suffered from the change in the aerospace industry. And we have a lot of homes. We've got, gosh, about 30,000 single family residences in town. We pride ourselves on not having a lot of chain restaurants. We have a vibrant downtown that's really the center of our arts and culture and history and business community as well as government.
So with that, I would assume that
you know, you have to stop me. Go ahead.
Of businesses would be heavily impacted by COVID. So kind of the starting question is, what has been the biggest impacts in your cities from this COVID crisis? Jennifer?
Sure, I'll start. See, when you tell mayors to talk about the towns they love, we kind of have a tendency to get carried away. The impacts were immediate and large, with restaurants shut down immediately, with the stay-at-home orders that were put in place. I mean, Friday the 13th was really when it all came to a crashing halt. And so we've seen a 30% drop in TOT tax, transit occupancy tax, in sales tax revenue. As a city, we had to immediately lay off all of our part-time community service employees. We had to pivot really quickly, and we were very lucky in that our city had stolen some really good staff from the city of Huntington Beach who came in. Kelly Fritzall is our Deputy Director of Community and Economic Development. She immediately set up websites to help our restaurant industry and started, she wore tennis shoes to work every day, out pounding the pavement to see how the city could be supportive of our business community.
Oh, that's good. Katrina, what do you see? Of course, South Coast Plaza, as you said, such a vibrant, important part of your community, both in terms of its presence, but also in terms of its revenue that it generates for your city. What have been some of those major impacts from COVID in Costa Mesa?
Right. Well, what's been very revealing, we knew this before, but maybe didn't really appreciate it. Retail sales, we rely on far too much. And so when South Coast Plaza, they voluntarily closed, and that was a huge hit to our budget. The retail sales, the TOT, those have been the major impacts in our community. Of course, we have a lot of small businesses as well that are mom and pop businesses. Many people live in the city who own restaurants and who own these little shops, and they got hit really hard. We just have I think, a new appreciation of how we need to diversify our revenue streams. And so we're working on that through this process.
That's a good point, because I think that's part of the whole discussion here today, and that is what cities will be doing not only to address the challenges we face, but using this awareness to take the next steps in city government. And so how does a city like Costa Mesa divest, particularly since cities get funding from 3 or 4 different areas, right? Primarily property tax and sales tax. And then cities like Anaheim or Costa Mesa receive, some hotel tax funding and some other types of revenue streams. But where is that focus on diversifying your, industries to be able to provide greater support for your city governance?
Well, we voted on Tuesday night to put an initiative on the ballot for cannabis retail and home delivery. We anticipate that's going to increase our revenue by $3 to $9 million a year. That is going to make a significant difference in terms of having a recession-proof revenue stream, because what we've seen throughout this whole COVID crisis is nobody stopped buying cannabis, and it became an essential service apparently. So that, I think, we will be only the second city in Orange County that will offer the sale of cannabis, which is going to be significant. We're right in the middle of Newport and Huntington Beach, and just down the road from Laguna Beach. That's a market that will be a higher end market for us to be able to provide that kind of product. So we're going to do it safely, and we're going to create good jobs. So that's one thing. Also, just development and the type of development that we attract here, as opposed to focusing on retail. Maybe we need to focus on some other type of development. We're working on our housing element. Increasing our property taxes is going to be significant, because really property tax revenue is not a major contributor to our budget because we have more retail reliance. So,
Right.
So those are ways, and there's lots of other opportunities. We're AAA bond rated as well. We want to keep it that way.
So there.
So Michael, in that context, though, what do you see from your perspective in LA County? What do you see as some of the greatest impacts, and how do you take the next steps to go beyond those impacts?
Well, Glendora is in contrast to Fullerton and Costa Mesa, because when you're growing up before COVID-19, you're thinking, okay, how do you get TOT tax? How do you get more retail sales and be like some of the bigger cities and get more of those dollars coming in? But now, thank God, we're not like them, because we relied heavily on property tax. And we are a bedroom community, a feeder community for greater Los Angeles and all parts, east, west, and north, and everything. And so we're not faced with that now with this situation. However, we still have an impact of about $2 to $3 million, $2 million in probably this last year, and about $3 million going forward. But the biggest frustration and the biggest problem that we've had is, and still continue to have, is the confusion from the rules from the county health. Moving forward, our shop owners, our restaurants are always dying to try to find out what is the rule, how am I supposed to operate? And we've been very vocal in saying, okay, when you provide an order out there and you have these exceptions where the different businesses can open up, please give us the protocol for that business, and on top of that, clearly define which businesses can be open. And that has been like pulling teeth. We have an amazing Chamber of Commerce that has been out there working with the businesses, whether a chamber member or not, helping them guide through these processes and things of that nature. And again, that has been the hardest thing for us, is to really get clear information. Our city managers have been doing an amazing job. Practically every evening, we get an update of what the rules are and clarification, usually about 9 or 10 in the evening. So that has been our biggest impact as far as government.
I see.
Flowing down.
It's good to have good city managers. I know yours happens to be listening in right now, and Jennifer's city manager, and the fine city manager in the city of Irvine. See, I'm the one who can monitor all these things. So,
Adam, you can't have a raise.
So also, for anybody who is listening wants to participate in the discussion in some regard, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. I know the mayor of Stanton has already posted his welcome comments, so thank you, Dave, for that. But anybody who'd like to post any question or anything, certainly do that at the bottom of this. Here, Michael, you have referenced how you, as the city of your type, primarily a bedroom community. Therefore, the foundation of your funding is primarily property tax, which is pretty stable. Most cities are not like that. Most cities have some great reliance upon sales tax, or in Anaheim's situation, on hotel taxes. In some of these cities, their budgets are based upon that level of revenue. So unlike yours, where you have pretty stable revenues, some of these other cities have had growing and strong revenues because they're fortunate to have a South Coast Plaza or a Disneyland resort in them. My question to you is, from your perspective, and you talk to a lot of mayors, do you see cities surviving? And I mean that seriously. I think a lot of cities over the next couple of years, because this was such an immediate hit, as Jennifer pointed out, to your funding and your operation, and it's not going to go away as we're in the second fiscal year of this slump. Do you think all cities are going to survive, and what do cities need to do to survive?
Well, first I'll be emphatic about this. Glendora will survive. It's on our nature to do so. We have an amazing city manager and a good finance director, and they're fingers on the pulse every day, and they do an amazing job. And but to your question, no, all cities are not going to survive. Before going into this COVID-19, there are a number of cities that are on the edge because of PERS and the social engineering from Sacramento, what they've done to limit what they can, the returns can be. And now it's been exacerbated moving forward. So we're really not going to know what's going to happen until 2021, 2022, when the new numbers come out for your long-term liability. We did a POB bond that bought off our long-term liability and saved about $30 million over 30 years. And that's thanks to our city, our staff that did an amazing job, and our fiscal conservancy moving forward. But there are a number of cities out there that are not in that position, and this COVID-19 is only going to exacerbate that problem.
Yeah, Katrina, what do you think? I mean, you see the 34 cities in Orange County, and you're working closely with a lot of the mayors. We don't necessarily need to point fingers, but every city has a different budgetary mix of expenses and revenues. How strong do you think cities are going to be coming out of this?
I think that the cities will survive. It's just that they will look different in terms of what kind of services, what kind of projects they will be working on. I mean, prior to COVID, we were really on a roll. We had all kinds of community projects in the works, lots of capital improvement projects, bike trails, multi-purpose trail systems, parks. I mean, we were really investing a lot in the infrastructure. And we had to cut $6 million out of our budget for, capital projects. We've cut, almost $40 million between the current or the last fiscal year and the current fiscal year. So services are going to take a hit for a period of time, but they'll come back when the economy comes back. And I think that's what's important. Most cities are making the adjustments, just like Mayor Fitzgerald talked about. Most cities are making the adjustments. We negotiated all of our bargaining contracts. We had 8 contracts we negotiated in literally like 3 weeks, which is unheard of. And everybody took 5% across the board. And those contracts are now in place for the next 4 years. So that way we have some stability and we know how to plan. But yeah, cities are going to have to look differently. And the PERS issue is going to have to be resolved at the state level. Fortunately, the stock market has been doing great over COVID, so that helps CalPERS.
Right. Well, there's a question from a good friend who's on the city council in Chino Hills, and I don't know if he is the mayor or former mayor, Brian Jost, but Jennifer, maybe this is something you could answer. He asked how cities are receiving or are dependent on some federal relief or bailout money, CARES Act money. How does that affect your city and other cities you're aware of?
So we have been asking the federal government, the state government, the county government, anyone who will listen, we've asked them for assistance for not only cost recovery for the added expenses related to COVID, but also for assistance with revenue losses that we've experienced. We have promises of CARES Act money from the county and from the state. Many cities have applied to FEMA for reimbursements. None of us that I know of have seen any money from that yet. I mean, we represent, so we have a group of mayors, the California Mayors Coalition that Mayor Foley and Mayor Allawos and I are all a member of. We have joined with 56 other mayors from across California. That number grows every day, and we're advocating to the federal government that we need not only expense reimbursement, but we need revenue loss assistance as well, so that, to Katrina's point, those services that really impact the most vulnerable in our community can be restored as soon as possible. All of us have experienced massive job loss, massive problems with people's ability to pay their mortgages and their rents. And so we've been asking for that help.
Yeah. It is interesting when you talk about the challenges and those in need. As we were pushed into the COVID stuff in March, the number one focus in the state was homelessness and housing, the need to build and develop additional housing. I think there's a question, of course, from our friends at SCAG who always focus on housing issues. I mean, Katrina, do you fear that city governments that really oversee a lot of the housing development in our communities, are they going to cut back their planning departments or slow this necessary expansion of housing opportunities in our cities? And I know that's, very critical to a lot of cities and the city's future, but do you think the COVID situation puts a damper on some of that potential housing, expansion?
I don't. And we just voted on Tuesday night to hire a consultant, Kimberly Horn. We hired their firm to do our housing element, community engagement, and work with us. We're going to do a visioning plan for Costa Mesa. We also voted on Tuesday night to partner with Jamboree Housing Corp to build approximately 60 homes units over at the senior center for seniors. So we're continuing on. We are using the opportunity because if you look at the state budget, really the only place where cities of our size, under 300,000, can get any value from the state budget is to address housing and homelessness. And those are issues that we have to address anyway. There's funds available for that. So it behooves cities to prioritize continuing to develop your housing element and moving forward with housing. We haven't stopped. We're looking also, Fairview Development Center is a 114-acre property in our city, and we think that likely that's going to be where we mostly solve our housing. What I will say is I support a diversity of housing product because we have to care for people. I live now, my 93-year-old grandmother, my 72-year-old mother both live in our home right now. Why? Because there is not housing for seniors that's affordable for people on a fixed income. And especially women who are widowers, women who didn't work like I have worked, like Jennifer have worked, and they don't have large Social Security checks that they can rely on. We have to fix that. We can't just leave them out to, figure it out for themselves because they can't work. You're 90, you're not working. So that's an issue we have to continue to work on. But I do think to address SCAG, we actually, we thought there was a fair way to determine the numbers. We don't think that the numbers that they gave us are reasonable or achievable in a limited period of time. And then the penalty part of it is just, I think, extreme. And so we're doing our part to build housing. We will continue to do that. But especially under COVID, I would hope there would be some relief from the state if cities can't complete their housing elements in time, because it's very hard.
And if I could add to what Mayor Foley said too, real quick, that immediately when this happened, our city council took action to defer all development fees for new developments in town, new residential developments, to the end of the project. so that we would in fact encourage development to continue. And our permits, we haven't slowed down at all. I want everyone to know Fullerton's open for business. We continue to process development applications and have the staff in order to fulfill those.
Yeah. How about you, Michael? How are you? Do you see a housing need in Glendora and LA County? And what are you doing to address that?
Well, we definitely have a housing need. I think all of Southern California does. And to Katrina and Jennifer's point, SCAG is done a disservice as far as the numbers. They're not fair, they're not right, they're not accurate. And it's not fair to have us be penalized because we don't build anything. We just zone for it. We don't build a thing. And that's discouraging because particularly with COVID and the limited resources that are out there, even at the state level, they need to put a pause on what they're doing. Let us catch our breath, and they're not doing that. And that becomes challenging. But what seems to be the hot topic for us right now, because we are a built out city. And so we have some specific plans out there for redevelopment in certain areas, certain corridors, but the hot topic seems to be the ADUs. And we had it on our agenda last time, we continued it. So this 28th, next Tuesday, we'll bring it back up, and we have a lot of activity in that. We have several openings up in our planning or our development area to bring on more folks to help us with processing this. We also outsource some of this as well. We still have the activity. We have a robust real estate market moving quite nicely, and even in this economy, in this market. But again, we don't build the thing. And so that's what the frustration part is out there. And then on top of that, having Sacramento say a one size fits all is challenging, because if we are primarily a bedroom community and we have these small slivers of commercial service areas, and then they're going to say by right you can change that over to residential, well, that changes our fiscal or financial models, and it can put us into a tailspin. In the sense that maybe not necessarily to some degree, because we rely on property tax, but you still need to have a healthy economy by a mixture of diversification.
And part of a healthy economy right now is really how do you help small business recover out of this COVID situation? And I know different cities have had different strategies to do that. Michael, you've mentioned your parklets and outdoor dining and those issues. I certainly read in the paper how Fullerton has done similar in different ways. Maybe any of you could share what you are doing in terms of supporting business in your community survive through this COVID challenge.
Well, what we've done is, I'll jump into this because it's fresh, is we all get our CDGB funds, say that 10 times. And so we've taken some of that and we found a way to be able to give loans out to our businesses through that process. It's lengthy, it's a lot of work, and if they had any payroll protection money they received, they're not eligible for that. But we've actually put that out there. We've partnered with our chamber to administer this and to gather the information and then bring it up to City Hall for us to do the final number crunching and approval. And we tried to really get that message out there and get participation. We just, I believe this week we're signing our first loan out, which is great. To be able to push that out there. And then again, some of our nonprofits out there are doing what they can to help as well.
Yes. Jennifer, any thoughts on that?
And the city of Fullerton was the first city in Orange County to allow outdoor dining on public right-of-ways. We immediately set up dinefullerton.com and buyinfullerton.com websites. We have business loans and grants available through the Small Business Development Center. We've also established a Feed Fullerton program that connects local restaurants with low-income people in need. We have started rental assistance programs. You name it, we have done as much as we can to get out of the way of business and support them. We've even gone to bat for individual businesses with their landlords, with tenants and their landlords, with golf instructors and their golf courses who won't let them teach lessons. You name it. I mean, we're trying to be as supportive as we can.
Yes.
Katrina, any additional things? I mean, I even know that you have a slide that you were
I was just going to say, Amanda, can you show my slide? Yeah,
what
so
Costa Mesa's done.
similarly, we've been working really hard to support our small businesses.
Okay, so wait a second.
Go to
two more
to the
slides
next
forward.
slide. The third slide. Third slide. There we go.
You go.
So we like Jennifer talked about, we've been lobbying the federal, state, local, even the county, for increased funding. We formed early on Restore Costa Mesa Recovery Team with a business assistance collaborative and a website that's geared towards shopping local in Costa Mesa. And we provide opportunities for information on that website as well. We started our small business grant program, and we had about 400 businesses apply. I think the 198 businesses ended up getting the grants. We have created uniform signage and face mask opportunities for our local businesses so they don't have to be burdened with that. We've been trying to connect them with PPE vendors that can give a discount. We changed up our zoning codes. We tried to make it so that it's more flexible so that you can get outside, fitness centers, restaurants, retail, anything that they can get outside. And then I think we're the only city in Orange County to not only pass a resident rental eviction moratorium, but also a commercial tenant eviction moratorium. We have lots and lots of small businesses that were at risk of losing their business because of an eviction. And so we passed the commercial moratorium, which even the state doesn't have that. So I think that's unique to Costa Mesa, and that's been very beneficial. Do you want to go to the slide? Never mind.
I want to move off the slide for a second and ask you a question. I think various people see during this challenging time, be it the ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control Agency, various state agencies, some of the folks that do licensing and regulation of businesses like barbers, hair salons, nail salons, and even cities. You've changed some things to allow for greater flexibility for business. Which of those are you going to keep? What will you be able to maintain? Because I think a lot of people do like this outdoor dining expansion, use of parking lots for more than just parking, and use of sidewalks for more than just walking. And there is potentially greater small business opportunities there. Any of those that you're thinking about keeping?
Yeah, well, we voted to actually do a couple of projects. We'd have 3 streets where we also are taking over, like Fullerton is, some of the public right-of-way. So we want to keep that. Actually, some of us have been wanting to do that for years, and so this was an opportunity to do.
Yes.
And then I think that we'll have to see a little bit less of the use of the parking lots unless we can create more bikeability and walkability in the city. And some places are just car central. So, but we want to see a lot of these initiatives that we've put in place that are temporary probably will remain permanent. Outdoor dining for sure. Use of the common area on the private property for sure. There's no reason not to allow that. I think those days are over. And then also, creating more walkable, bikeable areas. That's been a priority for us. It's even more of a priority now.
Oh, that's great. Mayor Allawos, you have the former mayor of the city of Yorba Linda calling you out right now. Let me see. Ken Ryan says something like, as a member of the Tartan Marching Band, a kid who grew up in the pride of the foothills. That's Ken Ryan describing himself, I think.
It's still the pride of the foothills.
What's that?
It's still the pride of the foothills.
Is that right? Well, at least he knows your phrase. And I think he is expanding on what I asked Katrina in terms of, are there some of these changes in your city that are going to continue to help small business flourish?
I'm glad you asked that question, so I have an answer for you. We have as you may know, we have the gold line going through our city. Right now it ends in Azusa. And so we're working on our first mile, last mile to get all of the folks to the train station, and we're working on our our bike paths, things of that nature, incorporating our downtown, creating other downtown-like areas, and that's really helpful. The parklets are going to be probably a permanent fixture in our city because it's a wonderful thing to have. People just love being that al fresco, to be outside, and it's just and the vibe is different because now you have all these folks out there, and you know, some cities of their downtowns, their streets are narrow, and we used to have our farmers markets, and it seemed cozier down there. Ours is a wider boulevard, if you will. It's just an avenue, but still wider. But now it's helping us because now we're out there in the parking stalls, and we have these parklets out there, which in the beginning, before we did this, our little SCAG thing that we did, we showed what a parklet would look like. And we have, you know, some folks that are kind of yes and no. We have overwhelming though did like it with the parking, and now we've done this, and it's just a huge success. So we will do this. We will allow it to be able to fast track the restaurants to be able to put this out there. But we also, a big thing that we've done as well, I'm sure that all the other cities have done it, Katrina and Jennifer as well, is we created our virtual city hall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
that is really helped quite a bit for efficiencies, and we're continuing to look for more efficiencies now. I'm a big believer in adding technology, but still have that personal touch. So you're going to see from Glendora the parklets, the virtual city hall, more so, and as well as, you know, our library has done an amazing job as well, reaching out to the community with different services that they have, and with the rental of books and movies and things like that, and they're always expanding outside that box and creativity. So you're going to see actually some positives come out of this as far as expanding services.
That's good. And hey, I have a few blog posts on my website, curtpringle.com. You can go to Curt's commentary and give me your comments back on some of those suggestions I have. Even maybe we could get back to outdoor drive-ins. You know, you look at a parking
We're going to
structure.
have one. You can come to the fairgrounds. We're working on that. It's coming up here in the next couple of weeks.
There you go. You jump ahead of me. But Michael mentioned about virtual city halls. I know there's a question here about is your city hall physically open? And if it's not, why do you not have it open? Your city, those are essential businesses.
Our city hall is open by appointment, so you can come in and make an appointment and come in. But almost anything that you want to do now can be done electronically. We're doing a lot of stuff with planning. We've ordered some big screens so that you can submit all your documents electronically, all your blueprints and things of that nature. The turnaround time is more efficient and faster. But yes, you can come anytime with an appointment.
Great. Jennifer, Katrina?
Sure, I'll just say Fullerton's open by appointment. We're also open to come directly in to pay water bills. We have our own water department. So you can come in to pay that as well. And I've tried for a long time to get more services online for the city, and that's happening now out of necessity. And that's one thing that has to continue. Government's so in the times, obviously, with technology. So this is a good motivation to change that.
Yeah, that's the same for us. We're open by appointment only. We tried to kind of phase in opening, and that as the numbers started to increase, I think that became very problematic for us. We're not seeing a decrease in our numbers. You know, Costa Mesa, we've had a doubling of the numbers over the last couple of weeks. So we're not going to be opening to the public just in general for a while. But the virtual City Hall has been great. The moving, like Jennifer said, I've been wanting us to do a lot more availability online. Now we had to, so now it's available. You can get your business license and other things, but submit your plans. The one area that I think also, some people who are used to coming down to City Hall and coming to the dais and everything, they don't like it. But I think overall, we've had more diversity of voices in our city council meetings on Zoom, because people can participate from their home. People who never participated. There's most of the nights over the last several weeks are people who I've never even heard of before. And so usually, you know, a city council night, you've got the same 10 people coming to the podium, but we have a lot more diversity of voices. And I think that's a good thing. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we continue to hear from more voices in our city, people who normally wouldn't participate in local government. That's so critical because you want to make sure that you're not just listening to a small group of people, but you've got a greater representation.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I mean, I think immediately people thought, oh my gosh, Zoom council meetings or planning commission meetings are bad. But in fact, actually, our firm's been working a lot on public outreach through social media, and you can get a lot more people engaged on controversial projects, development projects, and others. At least you hear that blend of voices as opposed to only the folks that are willing to come to a planning commission at night or even during the day, or for that matter, a council meeting.
Yeah.
One of our long-term friends, former mayor of Corona, was asking a question, and I think it's good. We talk about government operations, we talk about business, which is so critical to raising taxes, bringing taxes dollars in to run everything, but we oftentimes miss the impact of COVID and other things on nonprofit organizations that really serve in our communities in so many ways. Jennifer, what is out there that you've seen to benefit nonprofits and really focus on their survival?
So it has been devastating, the inability to raise money for these essential nonprofits. And in Fullerton, we have thousands of nonprofits that are really struggling right now. One of the absolute best thing for 15 nonprofits in our city during COVID has been Safe and Sane Fireworks. So 15, we have a lottery where nonprofits can host Safe and Sane Fireworks booths. And they did record business this year. So there were...
we all heard it all over the county.
No, you didn't, because Safe and Sane Fireworks...
We have them too. We have
fireworks
them too.
that were all over the night sky. The Safe and Sane Fireworks, however, raised $25,000 for nonprofits in town. Another nonprofit raised $30,000. Those are the kinds of fundraising that are going to make sure that they are able to survive through this.
Right. Yeah. Any suggestions, Michael, on how to support nonprofit organizations during this time, other than you writing, turning over your monthly paycheck as mayor?
I've written my share of checks even lately, and I'm happy to do so as well. We have a lot of creativity in our small town, and our nonprofits use the Zoom. We have one coming up right now for one of our foundations for the library and the schools, and they do an amazing job of how they get creative of attracting folks to come in. And so we are, we're 53,000 people, so we're a smaller town. Not that everybody knows everyone's business, but we can get the word out much quicker than a larger town. And we do like to support the way we live and we work and we play in Glendora. And so they want to be part of the solution. We have amazing school districts that are well known and do well, and they want to support because, the way the education system works, it's not, the equality isn't there the way they move the money around. So we have to have these other foundations going out there raising the funds to keep something like the music department or an art department. And so we have to work actually a little harder. And our nonprofits do a very good job with that, and their creativity, particularly, like I said, with the online auctions and Zoom, and make you feel like you're actually there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything to add then, Katrina?
Well, we have a lot of small nonprofits, but we also have Segerstrom Center for the Arts. We have South Coast Repertory. These are nonprofits also that have been closed down, and they have, depend on donors. They depend on people sitting in a seat and watching a show in order to raise funds. And so they've been devastated. We took $160,000 of our CARES Act funding from the county that was specific to businesses, and we've set aside that. We're trying to get the Treasury to agree that you can use those funds for nonprofits. That's why we haven't issued them yet, but maybe your firm can help us get that. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. But also, what we've been doing here is we also do a Saturday food distribution. So a lot of our nonprofits have pivoted to being whatever their mission was to now working together to feed people, to check on seniors, to check on families that are struggling. And so the donations that are coming in fact, the Chargers just did a significant donation to our food distribution drive. And the donations that are coming in are, you know, helping those nonprofits stay afloat, but also helping to provide a really important need, food. I mean, you can't believe how many people line up to get, you know, meat, eggs, milk, and vegetables because they're hourly workers and either their businesses that they worked for got closed and then they got reopened, or they are, in many cases, we have sole practitioners, independent contractors, and the like who can't apply, you know, for the PPP. And I think somebody asked a question, did the cities get PPP? No, the cities don't get that. We don't get that.
Right. Well, that's private business, and he probably wants to double check to see if cities got the PPP. But you know what, I've been wanting to do these webinars really to talk about public policy issues. So today's focus with all of you as mayors has really been good. So I hope people have a good perspective on what cities are doing to continue the level of service that is expected of you, even during challenging times and political inquiry and all the things that happen out there in life. I know next week we're going to do a webinar with the head of pediatric mental health from CHOC, Dr. Husty, with Kim Gall, the executive director of the Orange County First Five Commission, to really talk about childhood health and issues as, you know, kids are thinking about going back to school, preparing to go back to school, be it online or in a physical place. Well, but under every circumstance, they will be doing school somehow. Yes, Jennifer, the mother of two young boys. Yes, I get that. But we're going to have that next week and a couple other webinars in the future. I want to thank all of you for being here, Mayor Foley and Mayor Allawos and Mayor Fitzgerald, all of those that listened in, including that city manager from the city of Irvine who wanted, you know, me to tell you, Michael, that your city manager came under his tutelage and he did a very good job teaching him everything he knew. But I didn't want to, you know, really say that, or else, you know, there would be a lot more criticism from other people.
We stole ours from Huntington Beach too.
I think that's a common theme.
Is he asking for a check?
I don't know. You'll have to follow up with him directly.
Kurt, can I say one more thing? Can I just make, I really want to put a really push for wearing your face mask, okay? I know Lucy Dunn's on the call. There is no better way for us to keep our businesses open and get our kids back to school than to wear your face covering. This is Costa Mesa High School Cheer. They're selling face coverings. But you really, this is so critical. Now, thank you. Now they're showing that even the wearer of the face covering is actually benefiting, and it's protecting you from the risk of COVID. It's our only defense. And so please, there are other countries, they've solved it without pharmaceuticals. Wear a mask. That's all we ask. Wear your mask.
Yes. And with that, I want to thank all three of the mayors and all of the other mayors and council people and city folks and people in our community who listened in today. So we appreciate you. And there will be, Amanda will put up a slide. So if you want to follow up and make any contacts, here's some contact information for you. And with that, thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Kurt.
Great to be with you. Appreciate it.
Jennifer. Thank you,
Bye. Nice to see you, Michael.
Goodbye. Have a great weekend.